Welcome, listeners, to this week's episode of Unexplained Legends. I'm Roger O'Sullivan, and with me, as always, is
Denis Boilerplate Len, which actually doesn't mean what I want it to mean, but I'm very hot.
And together we are the Unexplained Legends. Denis, before we kick off, I better let the listeners in on a big change that happened in my life.
They won't believe it. Like I've nothing to complain about this week. Nothing. No. Right? Except the heat, maybe. But you, yes. Whoa, you won.
So I'll tell you this. I'm very fit. Right, I'm very fit. I exercise a lot.
You were in Men's Health before they described your diet, weren't they? What you having for breakfast again?
For breakfast, just black coffee.
Yeah.
Black coffee, then 3 steroid injections.
In brackets.
Yeah. I actually just brew the coffee as I'm sticking myself with the steroid injections, and then I have half a lab grown cow because I'm vegetarian.
Oh, nice, cool. What do you do with the other half?
The other half, I throw it in the bin. I'm vegetarian, but I'm not. I'm not very waste conscious.
But even with all that genetically modified cows that were grown in a lab, all those steroids that you take, all that black coffee that you take, just like Ian Thorpe.
Yeah.
What happened to you, right?
What happened, Denis? I was undone, right, by the wilds. I fractured my ankle. I've been booted.
He's wearing a giant boot, as you can probably hear in thunderous plonk there as he hits it next to the microphone. It's a massive boot. Some would call it. I think the thing is, right, I'm not going to call it that. I was going to call it.
Some call it.
Some people would call it the boot of shame. All right, some people would call it the boot of shame.
Or would they call it the boot of pride?
All right, I think it's unfair when hospitals hand these things out, right, and give you a big massive boot to walk around in. Give the patients 2 boots. Like, just give them 2 boots. So at least when they're walking around, people are like, is that a fashion statement? Are they just like, are they a mech warrior now? What's going on? When you've got 1 boot.
So I will tell you, right, a few things. You also mentioned I got a haircut. Right?
I did, yeah.
The reason I did that is because I knew I'd be going into work Monday morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, here's what I'll do. I'll get a haircut at the same time. That way, people won't know which to bring up.
That's an excellent move.
Yeah, they can't see each other out. I can tell you, not a single person brought up the haircut.
I said it didn't. Now you're stomping it with that yoke. That's the same logic as that guy, and it's a true story, about that guy who shot himself in the foot with a nail gun, and then to have the pain, he shot himself in the head. No, he did survive.
Oh.
But he basically shot himself. I've seen the x-rays of it.
I think it's not quite the same.
I think it's pretty much the exact same.
No. So I mentioned this to my. So I fractured my ankle. That's what's happened here. It will be 6 to 8 weeks mending.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is I'm trying to body hack myself.
Okay. Implants?
No, not implants. I'm getting an ass implant. No. Today I bought £20 worth of vitamins.
Okay.
£20 worth of vitamins, and I've been mainlining milk.
Yeah?
Just like straight from the bottle.
Full fat?
Yeah, it's actually that stuff, that Jersey milk I told you about, non-homogenized. So if it's even more than full fat.
It's just
it's
curdled
like
milk.
Yeah, it just has lumps of fat in it.
Oh.
It's delicious, right? So I've been having that. I'm trying to biohack myself. But I told this to my friends, right? What happened is I was jogging in the park, right? Tripped on like a rabbit hole type thing in the park. Now, immediately, my girlfriend's first response was to go look if we could claim, right?
Of course, yeah.
And unfortunately, if it was on pavement, I could have done it. But
you were on what, like a pitch or something?
I was on like greenery type.
Could you have sued the local club? Maybe taken their fundraising money or something?
Well, I was aiming to do that, but then they were actually shut down last year by a billionaire who bought the club to mine oil in behind the near side goal. So that was a no goal.
His legal team are going to be insane. So there's no point in even approaching him.
Point. But I'm currently in the process of suing rabbits.
Okay, great.
And I've so far they've been. You'll be surprised by this. They've been very forthright. They're not afraid of it at all.
How many cases are you bringing against? Like, how many people are you bringing against, rabbit-wise?
Well, I've trying to do a class action lawsuit. Just in the background, that's from like generic stuff, like let's say people getting diabetes from eating stuff that the Caramel Bunny sold. You know, that's like general. Okay. That's like overall. That's like
I have to say, I will draw a line if you start ragging on the Caramel Bunny, who, to be honest, was probably the biggest sexual awakening for most people in Ireland and the UK.
Well, you won't be happy with this, Dennis. She's actually representing the rabbits.
Oh, for
so
God's
I will
sake.
see her in court. And
as
you know, in this country that we're in, they can't video inside courts, so the courtroom artist will have to do a representation of.
Yeah, but see, you're done then, though, right? Because what if the Caramel Bunny stands up and she's gonna like summarize the case, and she just starts saucily eating a bit of chocolate?
Well,
you're sunk.
Well, I know what you're thinking, but wait till you hear who I have representing me. You won't believe this. You're a friend of mine, the tortoise.
The tortoise? No way, he's back, is he?
He is. He's fucking back. He never lost the drive. He said he's in this for the long haul, and he came in. Well, I shouldn't tell you this because there's legal counsel between me and him. But he came in close and he said, "Listen," he goes, "I've drugged them all. Sleeping pills, a lot of them. If this goes the way of the race, we're golden."
Do you think that woodpecker lad'll be in?
I'd say he could. I'd say, do you know what? If I was to guess, surprise witness.
I'd say, to be honest, if she calls you a postie during any of the trial, you'll call the whole case off. Anyway, look, the sunstruck. Yeah. The sunstruck has set in to us, I think, a little bit. What are we doing this week?
This week, Dennis, we are doing a very surprising one, I think, or like, well, unique, let's say, because we're actually doing something plucked from the headlines.
Really, topical. We're gone topical.
Yeah, we've gone topical.
Oh, are we doing the UFO thing?
We are.
UAP.
What that could be. We are doing the UFO/UAP government whistleblower, US government whistleblower.
I have never felt so stupid in all my life. And during the week, when I told a person who was in my family, they said UFO, and I said, you actually have to say UAP now. And it didn't even respond to me. It just actually didn't even talk back to me. They just ignored me and left.
I had a similar exchange with my brother once, and he had the best response I've ever come across, where he said, "It's political correctness gone mad," which I love misattributing that. Just before we actually kick off, right? I'm worried about what might happen when we delve into this.
Why? What have you uncovered or something?
Well, one of my friends, one of my close friends, when I suggested to them, I don't know if I should say his name in case he's also going to get in trouble. But
what if he's a narc? He's probably a narc.
No, he's not a narc. I know him very well, right? I'll use a code name I have for him, Kenna, right? He suggested that my ankle was actually a government orchestrated attack. That they knew my route from the well, he doesn't know if it's government or if it's AI, but whatever it is, I'm too close to the truth.
Yeah, but I've told you this, right? For a man who's involved in so many conspiracies, you are a creature of habit. I've told you to always mix up your route back.
Well, Dennis, that's what they want you to think.
Well, are you double bluffing them?
Yeah, I am. And like I told you before, there's no way that they could get me, right, between my running around in dangerous areas and my cleaning of antique nooses that I collect. There's no way.
Just imagine a couple of guys inside the van. What's he doing now? He's in his room and he's shopping for guitars.
Still?
What's he doing now? He's in his room and he's shopping for guitars. He's meeting a man in a train station. What's he getting? Guitars.
Has he got that camera out again?
All right, so this week we're doing the revelations that have been brought forward by the powers that be, NASA and stuff, I assume. I don't really know the ins and outs of it because I avoided it deliberately so you could give me the news at some stage.
That's convenient. Convenient that you would avoid it deliberately, but also I'm sure didn't open any of the articles.
Well, yeah, you see, like, it's just the perfect ploy of never doing my homework because I'm not allowed to do my homework.
It is exactly like a teacher going, nobody do your homework tomorrow, and you go, golden, I'll do that. We're talking about a man, right, called David Grusch, and he's in the news recently because he's come forward and he's claimed that the US government, believe it or not, I do believe it, have definitive proof of extraterrestrial life.
And before we get into this, is he saying that this is a recent thing, or are we going back to Roswell?
Oh, Dennis, this goes way deeper than Roswell. But
Deeper.
but potentially we'll say at least as back as far back as Roswell.
But mostly Roswell. All right, I think I'm ready to get the info from you.
Okay, on the back of that then we'll crack on with the lamestream narrative. For years there have been rumors about the I'll start that again. For years there have been rumors about the United States of America being in possession of extraterrestrial materials which they've been withholding from the public, participating in a decades-long campaign of deception and misinformation. On the more tame end of these accusations is that the American government may be in possession of some kind of extraterrestrial material resulting from perhaps a meteor collision. 2. The more well-known theory that they're in fact in possession of a downed craft, along with potentially that craft's erstwhile inhabitants.
Well, you see, I'm going to tell you now, Raj, I've seen the cadaver from Roswell. Have you seen the cadaver from Roswell?
Like in up close, or do you mean like in pictures and stuff?
In pictures and stuff. I'd never be able to afford a ticket out there when I was 9.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen it. I've seen the picture of these aliens on the slab at Roswell. It's probably one of the first. That's Roswell. I think is the first thing, along with X-Files, that I was ever interested in terms of aliens and stuff. I have a floppy disk out there somewhere, right? A red floppy disk that has Roswell pictures and information on it that could bring down, I mean, a small village.
It could bring down a Pentium 2 computer. Would bring the world of Pentium 2 to its knees.
Where did those pictures come from that are the pictures of the aliens?
So, that's a good question. And you've actually asked me something that I do know the answer to.
Nice.
There's stop me if you've heard of this one before. There's 2 branches to this.
Mm-hmm.
Actually there's 3. Put a third branch. Add in a third branch. Because I guess the first one...
Will we leave space for a fourth and a fifth, just in case?
just in case. First branch, right? First branch is that it's just real. They're real videos. Right?
Okay. I haven't seen videos, no. I've only seen photographs, I think.
Real photos and videos.
Okay.
Most of those photos are photos from, like, still frames from the videos. Right. That's one. What a lot of people actually, believe it or not, even people within the UFO community, they're not actually very sold on that. Right? Well, some of them are, right? But the other branch is that supposedly the actual footage was destroyed or misplaced. Okay. And that what we've seen is a recreation made by people that saw the original footage. As told in the documentary film starring Anton Deck, Alien Autopsy.
That is an incredible line. Is that where that... I've never seen that movie. You seen the Anton Deck movie?
Oh, I have, yeah. Scared the shit out of me.
Does your man's forehead play like the alien, or...
No. They actually CGI that smaller for the movie, for the big screen.
It keeps hitting the boom mics. But what's the story with that? Is that actually based on that theory, or is that
that is based on that theory? That's so the people I think that popularly spread that movie. I think that movie is somewhat based on their true story, where they claim that they faked the alien autopsy video, but that they faked it based on a real video that they got and was destroyed.
So they weren't even actually there. They're not like recreating it from their eyewitness account. They're recreating a video that they saw. They're making a video of a video from memory.
Yes.
That's solid.
Yes, it is. It's what's known in the business as a lossless medium. It doesn't lose any information in the processing between those steps. The final one is the final like branch of that as well, is that it just was intentionally made like it was a fake, an intentional fake to trick people or dupe people.
What would be the point in faking people?
Faking
people? I don't think that's a phrase, but you get what I mean.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Tricking people is to just freak them out.
All right, so like a big hoax, but it's not like a government kind of, it's not like a government fake, if you know what I mean, like to draw attention away from something else.
It could be.
You know what I was thinking? It might sound a little bit silly, but I don't think people think about these things. If you were an alien, right, and you got caught in a hop, right, so you're like caught, you're down on Earth.
Yeah.
Every time that they would come in and take a video of you or take a picture of you, you just have to do something really human to discredit it.
Oh,
so like if they came in and you just started twerking as an alien, or like you were just shouting something to them, like you could just, if you just acted in any way human, which I assume they could.
Just like sipping a cup of tea.
Yeah, it would be really hard. Or like sipping a cup of tea when the camera comes in and goes, oh fuck, and throw away the cup of tea.
Yeah.
It'd be really easy to discredit it.
Or do you know what they could do? Is they come in and the alien starts telling facts that they've seen on QI. And everyone just starts rolling their eyes and they go, turn the camera off. Go on. No.
Put him back onto the fucking spaceship.
Yeah.
What would happen actually these days though? I think it'd be interesting if aliens did come down. How would you prove it to some people? I think loads of people wouldn't believe it. Never believe it.
Well, it's a different QI host, so it would be like a different vibe to the facts they're giving out.
Yeah. But getting away from the QI thing, the QI example.
Oh yeah. Well, I have thought about this, and I actually think we should bring this up at the end. If you don't mind putting a pin in that.
Okay, I'll put a pin in that.
Because I think that's a really great point of the idea of it's tied into all of this disclosure stuff and information coming out. And I think we should delve into that in the theories.
Okay,
there's
let's do it.
There's a few things that intersect with that. So, Denis, right, although due to the sensitive nature of this information, of these supposed crafts, there's no chance of it ever reaching the public. That was until on the 5th of June, 2023, when a former intelligence officer...
Hold the fucking phone here now. The 5th of June?
Yeah.
That's about 7 days ago, if my maths are correct, and not.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, actually, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah, it won't be when they're listening to this, but yeah, they know, right? The former intelligence officer, David Charles Grusch, 36 years old, by the way, he turned whistleblower and came forward and confirmed these accusations that the US government had extraterrestrial crafts.
Do you think that these reports, like, I think, were they from the Europe kind of space agency or something? Did they come out recently, or was it the whole lot of them? Was it NASA? That they basically came out and said, like, they said, oh, we were going to reveal some things about UAPs, about like seeing them, or
they're looking into them and stuff.
Yeah, our reports, we are actively looking into them. There are some phenomena we can't explain, etc. But then they definitively said we have absolutely no proof of aliens out there. Do you think that this is like them rushing to say, like, oh, we have to get out before this guy discloses it?
No, I'd never thought about that, because I just think of them as being constantly engaged in active disinformation. So maybe I've missed that element. But I think that there is a chance that maybe that stuff coming out and him seeing us being peddled a load of bullshit, maybe that prompted him to come forward.
Wait, where does this fit into though? I know, like, we can't do this all the time, right? But like, where does this fit into with the moon landing?
Yo, shut up, right? Shut up.
How does that work?
Listen.
All right, put a big pin in it and throw it into the bin.
What do you even bring up, right? Because you brought up something. You brought up something that was exactly in line with what we were talking about, and I told you we don't have enough bandwidth right now to look into that. We'll talk about it at the end of the podcast. Then you basically asked me, because you know what's happening in my head now. You basically asked me, were the UFOs involved in the moon landing? Were they helping out?
Here, no, back to reality, right? We all studied the ship, right? You know, before when you used to get like saving stamps in school, do you think if you still had a couple of books of them, they'd be worth money, or are they gone now?
Do you know what? Actually, you might not know this, but they all were devalued because they were based off the currency of a country called Stambonia, And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Stamponia, they lost their main trading partner. So I'm afraid they're actually worth nothing now. What you should really be getting into if you want to invest in stuff is the Shrek Standard, which are these commemorative Shrek coins.
But it's not like an altcoin here. You're not shilling an altcoin here.
No, it's a physical coin, and it's minted by the British Mint.
Like a commemorative one, for the Queen and stuff.
A commemorative one of Shrek's coronation.
And where are they selling them?
You can buy them online. I'll send you a link.
Oh, nice. Okay, because I live quite close to Shrek's Adventure. If you want to pick up some.
Do you know what? You won't believe this, but they actually don't sell them there. They don't. You won't believe this. They actually have nothing to do with each other. Those two Shreks. Anyway, do
you know what's great? You just nearly call me Dave for a start,
right?
I
did because I was doing this. Anyway, David, come on.
Can I just say, right? This is the episode that we've decided to fuck around most on. When when a guy has basically said 6 days ago that aliens are there.
Yes. So we'll stop fucking around now, right? We have to get more serious, right? David Grusch, who led a UAP research team within the United States Defense Department, claims that while he was working on the task force, he became privy to some alarming knowledge. He was informed that the US government was in fact in possession of a craft of non-human origin, and it was intentionally withholding this information from Congress. Alarmed by this blatant withholding of intelligence, Grusch attempted to turn over classified information on these crafts to individuals within Congress, only for his revelations to be met with derision. After this, he felt his career was being intentionally shit-canned in order to hide his fears.
And whose words are that? Is that your words or his words? Do you just try and slip in shit-canned in the middle of it and expect no reaction?
Okay. Right. I'd be lying to you if I said that's a quote. Okay? But that's definitely what he
can't.
thought.
You can't, or what? What do you say? You can't put that into his words that he's saying intentionally shit canned. We need to. If you should make a new podcast called Shit Canned. That is such a great word.
But that's what they always say in Veep and the West Wing. Don't shit can me on this. My career is gonna be shit canned. So is
that really something they say?
I've never watched those shows, but I assume. So right, so to get past shit canning, right? In the wake of this, right, in the wake of his shit canning, he made the tough decision in April of this year to leave his post after 14 years of working within the government, to specifically do what he felt was right and turn whistleblower.
And just to give us the time frame of that, right? Mm-hmm. Is his first time coming whistleblowing 6 days ago? Or has he been working on it for years? When did he leave the government and stuff? So,
he left the government in April.
All right, so it's all incredibly recent.
Yeah, so I can give you a little bit of a play-by-play of events.
Yeah.
Or my impression of it, okay? Is...
That's the same as the truth, though, yeah?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's parallel to the truth.
Perfect, yeah.
It'll get you to the same place. You'll just be a tiny bit off.
You're 100 miles off.
Yeah. So, right, this is... He's worked for the government for 14 years, right? He's a government man through and through. He believes in the government. That's why he was so appalled when he saw that the US government was withholding this information from Congress. So what was the first thing he did? He took it to Congress to say, this information, the government has, the Defense Department, this information about these crafts, and it's keeping them from Congress. And Congress...
Roger, have you just read a Tom Clancy book? Is that what's after happening?
No.
You've mistaken it for fact.
No, this is 100% true. This is why this is so insane, right? He took it to Congress, and Congress shit-canned him, like I said. And he was hoping that he could amend it by going through the processes within the instruments, the apparatus of the US state. But in fact, all that happened was it hurt his career, and he could see he was on a trajectory of being, intentionally being...
shit-canned.
Yeah, well, there's no better word for it. He was being shit-canned. And then... he stayed in the government still for a year or two, trying to. It would be better if I had an exact timeline for that. But he reconciling.
He was just
himself,
he was hanging around.
Yeah.
He was it wasn't working out for him.
reconciling within himself as to what he'd do next, and eventually he made the decision that he'd leave the government and actually turn whistleblower.
And now he's out, and that's what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, he's gone whistleblower.
Just to touch on the Tom Clancy aspect of things there, or especially kind of John Grisham as well. There's fantastic books that are definitely written by them and not ghostwriters. The worst Tom Clancy book I've ever read, right, which could be any of them, but the worst one I read was the one that is, honest to God, it's about a submarine, but from the perspective of an actual submarine.
Of a submarine.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's useless. It's probably called The Submarine or something.
The Submarine Protocols.
I was reading it like it was an introduction. Do you know, I was like, oh, this is like an interesting creative introduction to the book where it's pretending it's a submarine, and it was like, no, he was pretending he was a submarine for the entire thing.
Was he like, oh what do you call it?
Well, like he was like, oh, my rudder was stiff when I woke up in the morning.
What's the thing that goes up? We talked about it before.
Periscope.
My periscope. I raised my periscope.
Yeah.
I saw another potential submarine mate.
Yeah.
I flapped I flapped my torpedo base.
He was not only talking from the perspective of a submarine, but he was also writing the whole book in present tense. It was impossible to read.
that sounds like Tom Clancy's dead now.
Yeah.
That sounds like the first attempt of bringing like the AI version of his brain online.
It sounds like he's just the end of him. Like, as in he hands in the draft and they're like, Tom's on the way out here. Like, we better download him.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't have bothered. After they induced that coma, we shouldn't have let him keep writing. So Denis, right? We're up as far. So David, right? We're up as far as him coming out and turning whistleblower. Well, I don't get. You seem to have a bit of issue with the fact that he came out like only recently.
No, I think it's amazing. I just didn't think it would be this recent. That's all.
Okay.
I think that's unreal. I just was trying to figure out whether or not he left the government for ages and then came back was whistleblower.
No.
I think though the problem with him now though is he's going to be ostracized surely.
Well, I think you're probably right. But get this right. In his initial statement after coming out as a whistleblower, he stated that the US government and defense contractors had been recovering fragments of non-human crafts for years, and in some cases even uncovering whole ships. And then this is a direct quote. We are not talking about prosaic origins or identities, Grusch said. The materials include intact and partially intact vehicles. The material is, in quotation marks, of exotic origin, meaning non-human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial or unknown in origin.
But where are they getting all these spaceships from if they're capturing them intact?
So Denis, it's going to blow your mind. Maybe they're taking some of these up.
What do you mean up where? Where are they going? What do you mean?
Like maybe they're digging them up. Maybe they're always
They're digging them up.
Yeah. Ancient aliens.
Is he suggesting that?
Oh no, he hasn't directly suggested that. But you asked me a question.
But it sounded like he suggested that from what you said.
No, you said, where are they getting these from?
Okay, I'll rephrase it. Where does Grusch think that they're getting it from?
Military operations. The usual stuff. Crash landing. Being taken down.
So crash landings. So they're just gobbling them up from there.
Yeah. But they could also be getting them from archaeological digs, like I just suggested.
Well, we'll discuss that another time, probably towards the end of this podcast. But are there, they sound like they're falling over them? Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, they can't build enough places to store them.
No, really, if you read his words, I'd say if they only had 3 of them, that would really be enough to.
No, it'd be impressive. I'm not saying it wouldn't be impressive.
Like one of them's impressive, really. If we really think about it, it's not like one of them's a fluke, you know. It's not like if we found one where we need another one really to tell if they exist.
I don't know if this actually works as a thing, because maybe you have to be up to a certain kind of technological advancement for this thing that I'm about to present to work. So it might just fall on its arse. But like if we
DVD players.
if we brought a car
Yeah.
back to, I don't know, the 1500s,
Okay.
how long would it take them to figure out what's going on?
Oh, a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Because so there's a few things going on there. You're talking about like a petrol car.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have the fuel.
There's more than a few things going on.
Yeah, they don't have the fuel. Instantly, radio doesn't work. That's a write-off, right? They're never figuring out the radio, right? I think the wheels they're going to get, they're going to have a fair idea of how they work. I think the thing that they'd be most likely to get from that, I don't think a combustion engine. It's probably unlikely they're going to be able to backwards engineer that too quickly.
It's actually quite interesting, though, you make that point there where they're like, okay, we can take the wheels, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
But that just shows that, like, if an alien craft did land here and it would have to be really advanced, it would probably be so advanced ahead of us that we wouldn't even be able to identify what the stuff is.
Do you know what it would be really funny is if it crash landed and it was like, do you ever see that Da Vinci helicopter?
Yes, yeah.
It would be so funny if that's what they had. They're like, no one's going to believe that this is alien.
But wait, no, I want to go back to this.
Okay,
I think this is interesting. So, like, they can identify the wheels,
Yeah.
right? They know that is what's moving it at the very least.
Yeah.
Just by eyeballing it, you could probably figure that out, right? They can tell by sitting into it probably that they're the seats.
Well, I was going to read you a quote from Grusch himself.
Okay.
That specifically addresses what you said. Is he talking about them being extraterrestrial, non-human in origin? So he says this assessment is based on the vehicle's morphology and material science testing, and the possession of unique atomic arrangements and radiological signatures. So they're saying that to some respects, they're not even really recognizing the atomic arrangements here, or that they're incredibly exotic.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so in my point there, I was probably really underestimating how they would test these things as well.
Oh,
they wouldn't just be going around kicking it, like thinking, "What the hell is this?"
You're thinking that they're just trying to they're like Roadrunner style, taking it off at the top of a mountain over and over.
At like the Red Bull race or something.
You're picturing that they've given it to like some YouTuber who's like, "Okay, today I'm gonna try and get this UFO to work."
All right, cool. So then they're like studying the compounds and stuff, and like the alloys and all this kind of stuff.
You've
and
got
then
all the
they're
words now.
I know, yeah, and I've been doing more crosswords, and they're studying that, and they're saying, "Oh, this is mental, like how they make this up," and then they'll just try and replicate that, I assume.
Yeah, I think so. Try to like reverse engineer individual parts of it, right? Now, so Denis, right? Despite all this information, which Grusch came forward with, there are still, of course, skeptics and naysayers. But even the most ardent skeptics have been shocked by the announcement of the US House of Representatives that they believe these claims have a high degree of credibility, and in fact plan to hold a full hearing on the matter, potentially even beginning an investigation in order to confirm whether Mr. Grusch's statements are true or not. Pending an outcome, right? Pending the outcome of the investigation, they may even demand the US Defense Department to turn over any suspected information on these objects.
When did they come out and say that?
Last week?
That is mad.
Yep.
So, who controls the House at the moment?
You don't.
Is it Republicans? I think it's Republicans.
Yeah.
Did they get it? I can't remember. Who cares? Anyway,
they're all the same.
They're all the same. Warhawks. But anyway, so the Republicans, or whoever the hell are the Democrats, right? What do you think is their motive? What's their motivation for getting that information released?
So I think it's like multifold. Because I think that there's some people. There are a lot of people in the U.S. government who do just ardently believe in UFOs. So they want this information out there. There are other people who I think you would get people that, rightly so, whether this information is true or not, what scares them is the idea of information being withheld.
Okay, yeah. So and I think some of it as well will probably go down to like money being spent on this that is kind of off the budget.
Yeah, so you a lot of people are just very much like, oh, the classic government overspend.
I believe that that's probably a lot of people are actually are like trying to say, well, how much money has been spent on this fucking thing?
Yeah, they're like, listen, I don't care if they're from Timbuktu or if they're from Jupiter. I'm not spending another dollar of my tax money on on supporting these damn non-Americans.
These aliens.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool as well, right? Because I think this goes back to some mad thing you said before as well about like them staging an alien invasion. I was going to use a word thing that
pin in that
pin again.
Pin in that. I've just come up with a great sitcom
surrounded
idea.
by pins.
Just come up with a great sitcom idea before we crack into the theories. And I am trademarking and copywriting this, right? And I'm getting a draft of this up and running for when they eventually reveal that UFOs are real, right? You've heard of the phrase illegal alien, common phrase in America. My sitcom, Legal Alien, right? And it's a UFO, it's an alien that crash landed in UAP, taken in by the US government. And what they've done is they're effectively almost putting him in like witness protection. They have to hide him in plain sight because the government, the deep state itself, is coming after him. So he kind of fish out of water type thing has to live in like a kind of what would you like an urban
suburbia?
New York. Oh well, okay, fine. It can be. I was thinking like basically imagine Friends, but one of them's an alien. But yeah, we can put them in suburbia as well. I'm easy. I
was more Everybody Loves Raymond type sitcom.
Okay, yeah. The only thing I'm really tied to is the name. The name stays the same. Everything else, even the inclusion of him being a UFO, that's up for grabs.
Does he retrain as a lawyer?
I really pictured him like working in like let's say a convenience store.
You see, I wanted to really hammer home the legal alien part.
No. That's not part of it.
Just legal alien, as in like he's legal because the government has said he's legal.
Yeah, because the tension that you get is he ends up working with all of these like undocumented migrant workers.
Yeah.
Maybe he's escaped from the government, and maybe he's hiding out with them. And the whole like the heart of the show, is the fact that he's anxious about being found, but they're all anxious about being found.
Well, what are they all aliens who live in the family?
No,
or in the family?
He's the only alien, and he's living with a bunch of like he's actually living with a bunch of migrant workers in America.
Okay, what happens in the situation then where he like gets with someone? They don't know he's an alien.
That's just classic fish out of water romance.
I would like you to think about this as well. How long do you think it would take from aliens landing on Earth to a human having sex with an alien? Depends who meets them, I suppose.
10 minutes. I'd say quick shower, condom. Let's get this going.
All right, quick shower, condom. All right, here we go.
So, Denis, right, before we crack on with the theories, whether or not Grusch's statements will result in disclosure remain to be seen. But one thing is sure, whether or not we are alone in the universe remains until this day unexplained.
All right, before we get into the theories, I think I need to recap this a tiny bit. So this Grusch guy came out last week, right? Yeah. And he said, I believe that the US government, have aliens, have alien craft, and are hiding it from the public, right? Yeah. That's cool, right? The US House of Representatives then came out and announced that we're hopefully going to launch an investigation into this to see what's happening from this whistleblower Grusch, right? But what evidence has he brought forward? Or does he have any kind of like thing in his back pocket, any ace up his sleeve? Or is it all just his word against the government? Because I'm no history buff, but that doesn't work out very well most of the time.
He's done this through, I heard somebody refer to it as, he's done it through all the official channels. So he does have documentation and stuff, but this is all gone. This is done through the exact same channels as like if you I don't know, if like the Iran Contra, if you were coming forward with something like that. Like, this is all done through the official channel. So I don't know what kind of documentation he has, but it's 100% being taken seriously.
So the information isn't lost?
No.
Well, but then he can't reveal probably state secrets and stuff without, because not to get too serious, but like you see how that worked out for other people.
This might sound crazy, right? But the thing is, a lot of it is just his word. But the thing you have to understand is that that's taken as like much more sacrosanct if you are coming through the proper whistleblower. Like to a certain extent, almost all whistleblowers will be coming forward in this same process of it's my word versus versus the state, because obviously you kind of touched on there. It's not like you can steal all this documentation. That's illegal in its own right. So even if you're stealing that to disclose it or whatever, you're going to be in your own kind of trouble. So he's come out and he's gone through the proper processes, as if you might go through HR or something for like unfair dismissal. But
all right, so they're almost compelled to investigate it then.
Yeah. So basically, the assessment at the moment is whether or not they think what he's come forward with is credible. And so far, all of the apparatus of the state is erring on the side of it's credible.
All right, give us the theories.
Okay, first theory. You're a friend of mine. It's real.
It's real. Okay. It's real. It could be real. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is cool. This is going to be the first episode where there is absolutely definitely going to be a follow-up episode. Like there has to be.
You think so?
And that episode could go one of two ways. That could be a very boring episode where we say, your man Grusch made the whole thing up. Or a second thing, well, I suppose there's a couple other ones there. You would never say that. You would say that he was shut down or something. And second one, obviously, aliens are here. We're right on the cusp of it.
Yeah.
This is bad.
We got to do some of this. So, first one, it's real. Okay, not much to be said on that. It's obvious.
That's more of a wait and see point, I think, to be honest. Because to be honest, at this moment, this is kind of like a news headline, but we don't really have the meat of it yet.
Yeah. So, the next one is it's misinformation. Okay.
Misinformation from who? From the government?
So, he was intentionally fed misinformation, David Grusch. So, there's misinformation within projects, within interdepartment projects that were being... So, let's say they're developing a new ship, and then the code names are based around, it's extraterrestrial. And so that way... you can't, if you're within the government, you can't really leak that to the enemy, let's say.
Isn't it more likely that he would be deliberately fed this misinformation, though? Well, not that he picked up on it wrong.
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it. Is let's say they, like, I don't want to cast any aspersions, but let's say within the government, they've targeted Mr. Grusch, and they see him as a high likelihood for whistleblowing. Or like they see him as, let's say they do even have information on, it's like a double bluff. They do have information on extraterrestrials, but they want to intentionally seed him information because they feel like they can make him crack and come out with this information if they feed it to him.
But what's the point?
Because it's just like internal accountability. Like the point is, if you're this deep within the state, it doesn't matter if somebody tells you, Jesus came back and he's next door there. Like, you shouldn't, if you're that deep within the state, you shouldn't be telling anyone about this.
Well, what? So you think they're testing him?
Yeah, like it's almost like a purity test within the apparatus of the state.
To see if he comes up. But doesn't it cause them a massive amount of embarrassment? And like the investigation that's going to take place here is going to have a huge amount of money over years.
Well, but you see, if it's orchestrated, then it will actually pay back in dividends. Because if they've orchestrated it and there's nothing there, he'll be humiliated, and nobody's ever coming forward ever again when the real aliens do turn up.
Yes. Like they see an alien walking down the street with an ice cream, they're like, I'm not telling anyone.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's between him and the ice cream man. Next one, Denis. This is it. Like, this is the big whopper.
You sound a little sexual there, right? I have to say.
No. If anything, I'm terrified. Okay.
Okay.
Project Bluebeam.
You've mentioned this.
Project Bluebeam. So Project Bluebeam is the idea that the US government has been planning since day one, since Roswell, pretty much. Maybe even before Roswell, arguably. To long-term fake the existence of extraterrestrial beings. Fake the existence. Fake disclosure. So that's fake coming forward with information about these. And then ultimately faking an invasion or the threat of a potential invasion by UFOs, by aliens, by extraterrestrials, in order to create a single US controlled world government and take control of the whole world.
Okay, so a false flag event.
Yeah.
So then they can perpetrate this massive global government. Now, obviously, couple of problems. China would be one of the big ones.
What do you mean?
Well, like China would have to be in it because the government can't, or the US government can't take over China. Like,
well, they just threaten China. They just say, listen, you're either with us or you're not.
yeah, but wouldn't that risk a massive? I just don't think China would be like the pushovers. You know, they might seem like they are to us, but
I think if you're going in there to like the Xi Jinping, right? I think if you're going to him and you're saying, man, like there's aliens coming, I think he's going to be pretty receptive to what you have to say.
there's aliens coming. So they would say to him, here, look, join up with us for a while.
Yeah.
We'll sort you out. We're going to be the bosses of this because we're the only people who can take care of it.
Yes.
But afterwards, we'll give you back some power, and then
Emergency
he's done.
powers type thing. Yeah.
Okay,
But by
all right, that
time,
makes sense.
they've sucked away all the power of the state.
All right, but obviously what's going to happen is that aliens will cotton onto this, real aliens, and then they'll come in, and that's going to be a clusterfuck.
Well, this is what I wanted to bring up. To remove the pen from what you brought up earlier, is I've been reading about Project Bluebeam for so long. I've been ready for this disclosure for so long that if I saw an alien walking up the street, I actually might think it's a disinformation campaign.
You wouldn't believe it.
I think I might be torn.
How? Yeah, well, this is what we're going back to so earlier on, right? Finally, an actual pin that I remember.
Yeah.
So I think we live in a climate now where if aliens came down onto Earth, there's a huge swath of the population that would just not believe that they're aliens.
Yeah, and
no matter what you would tell them.
I think the people that would be most reluctant to believe it will be the people that have been following the UFO phenomenon for years.
Why do you say that?
Because I think that you would have all of this built up knowledge and you'd go, that's not what grays are like.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wouldn't fit what they believe in from their research that they've been doing for years and years.
Yeah, so like that they're always worried about the climate. They're always worried about protecting us. And you see one smoking a fag and fucking throwing a can in some bushes.
Yeah. So what would you say would be the thing that people would have to do to make you or any other unbelievers believe in it when the alien actually comes down and does a press conference? Like, what do you need? Do you need like? Do you need him on an open top bus coming through? Do you need him shaking hands with you? Like, what is it?
I don't think I'd ever believe it.
But there has to be something. Like would it be get a takeaway with him, sit down and watch like the Harry Potters on Netflix? Like, what is it?
All that stuff. That stuff is actually making me believe it less.
Why? If an alien made any effort?
Yeah. My belief is tied to is inversely proportional to proximity. So the
closer the alien gets, the less you believe it.
Yeah. That's it. The closer it gets, the less I believe it.
All right. So if you saw an alien very, very far away, you'd believe it more.
I would.
Wait, but no. Try and answer this, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is?
I'm not
how
joking
would we prove
either.
it?
I'm not joking.
I know you're not joking. I know you're not joking. But how would you make people believe it?
I think,
what the hell would be the proof? Like, they wouldn't believe anything. They'd think. Did you see that thing during the week with oh my God, why can I not remember this guy's name? Very famous Irish actor, Cillian
Murphy. Yeah.
Do you see that picture of like a supposed baseball player that looked like his doppelganger, and then it came out that it was AI generated?
Yeah.
Right? No, like when that came out first, everyone was responding to, "Wow, that's crazy!" Like, you know, and I read it as that's what it was. Like, and I said that is crazy,
Yeah.
even though I mean it looked exactly like Cillian
Yeah.
Murphy. So what will we do now to explain to people when the aliens come down? Because I think like around the kind of Mars attacks generation, like, you know, we would have just hopped on board and just been like, yeah, grand, aliens, totally believe it, no problem. Besides yourself, let's say.
Okay.
But what do we do now to make people? Because it's going to be important. Like, we're going to say, lads, there's aliens attacking us, or there's aliens coming down. Like, we need like, it's like someone's coming over. You know, like an important guest is coming over. We need to clean the place up. Like, we need to be on our best behavior, whatever. How are we going to get people to believe it?
I just I don't know. I think to a certain extent, I think some people would just never believe it. They'd never be able to process it and believe it. Look at me.
Because they'd say, I know, but this is what I mean. Like, as in, we're fostering some of this stuff. As in, even if someone met an alien and like went to, I don't know, like a cricket match with them for the whole day, like 12 hours, right? Went to a cricket match with them. Afterwards, you'd say, there's a good chance that's just a guy in a suit.
Well, you see, here's your problem. And this is what I mean by the proximity thing. The closer it gets, if it's doing stuff like that, if it's going to Costa, that I'm not believing that. That's nonsense. If it's going in and getting like a frap in Costa, that's bullshit. That's made up. That's a psyop. If it's a fleeting glimpse of a mothership as it comes in and out of orbit, that I'm believing.
How big would the ship have to be for you to believe that it's not human technology? Would a huge ship do it, like an Independence Day ship?
I would say if you're getting, let's say if it's like the length of a bus, I'd think.
Bigger than a bus,
Yeah.
you'd do it for you.
Yeah.
Double decker or just single?
Double.
Bungalow bus or
No,
double decker?
double. I think I think it would be the sort of thing that, do you know, I've dreamed about UFOs a lot. Yeah, and it scares the shit out of me seeing them, UAPs and UFOs, right? But I have so much relief when I wake up and I don't have to reconcile whether or not what I saw was true anymore. That's true. Like, that's a real feeling of relief when that happens to me. And I think if you saw the things I saw in my dreams, that would be enough for your reality to break. And you just go, that could not be human.
So the people would just refuse to believe it, or else they'd go insane.
I think you'd either refuse to believe it, or like, your reality would just fracture, or you would just have to admit, yeah, they're real. That's it, like.
All right, I think that does it for this episode, does it?
There was one other theory.
Before this theory is done, no, go for it.
This was just that it's much more limited than what it seems like on the face of it. So he's heard all this stuff, but really what he's hearing when they say extraterrestrial, it means that we do potentially have proof of there being life not on this planet. So let's say it's like a bit of an asteroid that contains bacteria from the other side of the universe, but it's not.
I would still be happy with that.
Yeah,
I would still be happy with that. Like, even if it was like a number plate off an alien ship, I'd be like really happy with that.
I think if they were really going to do disclosure, if they were really going to do it this way, I think that actually we'd start seeing a lot of that stuff, like, in the next few years, to get us used to the idea of there's definitely life in the universe. You know, and then you get the big ships.
All right, I think it does it for this week's episode. Not to make it so boring for everyone, I'm not going to do the same thing I do every time at the end of this episode. But what I will say is we're about to pop into some bonus content, a bonus episode called The Den Files on Patreon. If you sign up there, we've got a good few Patreons now that are loving The Den Files at the moment, where I'm giving Raj all the topical alien news that I researched for days beforehand.
Oh yes.
It's a little bit raw on there, I think. It's fair to say, Raj.
Very raw.
Yeah. Capable of saying anything in there.
Yeah.
So we're going to pop in there. As always, we're 9 reviews from the time of this recording away from 100 5-star reviews on Spotify.
As we always
Please
are.
Just get your family to do it at this stage. Please get your family to do it.
Do anything.
We have some listener messages in and stuff as well, which we'll handle on the next recording. We'll do it on the next recording. We got a huge message in from someone, so we're going to handle that on the next one. But other than that, just follow us on Instagram. I'm Denis N3D, and over there is
at Roger O'Sullivan on Instagram. Oh no, at Roger O'Comedy on Instagram and at Roger O'Sullivan on Twitter.
And also get onto our YouTube channel as well, because we're putting up clips from the podcast there and stuff, and subscribe to us.
Yeah, and I guess on the back of that, all there is to say is love you. Bye.